Welcome to the live stream. We're going to be talking about how to fix Canada. Are you ready? Are you ready to talk about how we're going to fix Canada? Because I know a lot of people are going to click on this 1 or 2 days later and probably swipe away. But screw it. We're gonna go ahead with this live anyway. And actually, how it's going to get fixed is by relationships. Relationships actually with friends and family. Oh, and by the way, here's the kicker. If you don't have a good relationship with your friends or family, then pretty much Canada's screwed. And I'm gonna be I'm gonna be one of the only people to tell you why. But the short answer is because other families will come in and other close communities and friends will come in to a new country, and they won't have the same problems that you have. And they won't have the same issues that you're dealing with. So what they'll do is that they're going to get along with each other. They're going to work together more. And then they're going to be the ones who inherit the future and not you and your ancestry over the last couple hundred years or however long that you've been in Canada for. See, Canada's always been known as like a churning kind of nation, right? Where lots of immigrants come in and they build up shop, basically. And that's pretty much one of the biggest known secrets, I guess you would say, is that for generating wealth, you really have to do business. There's really no way around it. There's no dance around it or rhyme or reason around it. Really, besides for accruing wealth, you can either do the buy low, sell high method or whatever. There's all kinds of different ways to make income. Demand and supply and blah blah blah, but really at the heart of it, it's business and the business savvy, and that's what made Canadians really successful over the last 200 years. Think back to the time of the beaver pelts, if you guys remember the beaver pelts, Hudson's Bay, trading things like salt and gunpowder and all that stuff. Now, why do you think that stuff sold? Why do you think salt sold? Because it's a bodily process people need. Why did beaver pelts sold? Because it was cold outside, and people needed it. People wanted it. Why did gunpowder sell? Well, so they could shoot beavers. And of course, all these hundreds of years later, here we are now. So what do we need now? And how come we're losing that? Sometimes it's good to be independent, but if you're too independent, you can wind up maybe being too competitive, if that makes sense. You'd be a lot better off if you had a few people helping you out type thing, sharing some of the burdens, sharing some of the load. And yeah, that's my advice for now. A lot of friends and families that do get along wind up taking over in the town anyways, small, medium, large size towns. And there's a lot of towns that have like mayor, like the assistants of mayors or the assistants of businessmen, wealthy businessmen, and so on and so forth, like the first-hand captain or whatever, the first mate. And what takes place is what goes on basically is that these people are unfireable. They never get fired ever. And they go down with the town and with the city. But what a lot of people don't tell you guys actually is that they're the ones who invite all the immigrants in for competition. They're not just inviting them in just for work and all because they need workers and stuff. It's purposely inflating the economy to force that competition for the less desirable wages or whatever. And they don't care if they have to get a private company to bring in the lower wage income earners because a lot of it could just be a tax write-off, or it could be funded by the government maybe entirely, and they circumnavigate around some of the other like Irish people, Scottish people, and some people that have heritage with Canada for the last couple hundred years. But still, that's only a way to temporarily, like, what's the point of doing that, right? Well, it's a mitigating thing, but it's not a one-shot cure all for Canada or whatever. It's also like that's a kind of tactic that only works for like 10, 15 years, okay? It only works for a small amount of time. So, but it's buying them time. Basically, what I'm trying to say is it buys the elites time to decide what they want to do. And I got a feeling what's going to happen in Canada the next couple of years is that they're going to, like, all the rich people are going to leave, basically. It's going to be, and then when the rich people leave over to the States or whatever, that's really going to screw up Canada, because they're not going to have the elites to manage everything. Of course, obviously, the elites manage everything right now, right? But if the dollar gets weaker, because I find we're seeing a lot of people in Canada that's arguing and fighting with each other. A lot of like lower income people are really fighting with each other right now, instead of like learning to get along and enjoying the small things and all that kumbaya stuff. But like there's not really any expropriation in the land, like in terms of like oil and stuff like that. It's not, these other third world countries like Africa and all these other places, they're not going to buy our stuff like the States is. So some of these politicians are really on a fine line here of dissing the US for clout and all that kind of stuff. I'm starting to think that they really have no idea what they're doing, because or unless they're really purposely bringing down Canada or whatever. But like what I'm trying to say is that this whole group think, if you let the group think go on for too long, and it can get out of control, and even the ones who kind of come up with the group think can't control it themselves, and that's when the elite people leave, basically. And when that happens, either somebody else is going to take the reins and be the next rich elite person or whatever, or Canada's going to have like a brand new identity, so we'll see what the new Canada identity will be in the next 1 or 2 years or 5 years or less or whatever, is basically what we're seeing now. So just what we see now, you can see it just in every town you drive in or whatever. So and also the whole play of you can tell Canada's not doing good right now in a way, because like nobody wants to build data centers here. The technology people, like none of them want to build data centers. So why do you think that is? Why do you think that is? Like or how come there's no robotics or technology or anything like that in Canada? Like, why do you think that is? Does anybody want to comment below on that? Do I even have comments enabled in here? I think I do. I think I got comments enabled. Yeah, I guess so. Anyways. Yeah. So the reason is because they don't want to get canceled by woke people, basically. That's pretty much the whole gist of it there. It's too risky to buy land in Canada to transform to data centers or robot factories or anything like that. Although in Canada, they did talk about Hyundai wanting to come in because they want to manufacture 200,000 vehicles. Ontario is well known as a manufacturing hub anyway. So it gives some people some jobs, but it's not really good in a way if the car if there's like a car subsidy from, if Canada gives a subsidy to another foreign car company instead of our own car companies, that says a lot. When you kicked out the OGs, basically, or when the OGs leave, it's not a good sign. And so not only does we give Canadian workers jobs, but we give the car companies incentives, and then we give them like discounts or whatever. So that's still only like a temporary Band-Aid. They make it seem like it's a huge win, but it's not as good as a win as it could have been if those car companies had just stayed in the first place instead of leaving. Why would they leave, right? It's not because of the workers. It's because of the bureaucracy and the policy that's facing all these issues. And that's what I mean by like the brain drain and the doers of the world. It's too risky to, this is a large scale too, but even myself, I'm a small fry. I tried to do some businesses around here in Canada, and instantly you get shut down instantly, really. I mean, I haven't given up haven't given up hope for Canada. I know a lot of people, particularly in Alberta, they want to separate. Quebec wants to separate. A lot of people are frustrated right now, and they have the right to be frustrated, but we have to find out why and what that frustration is, and then how to alleviate it. And a lot of that frustration stems from like instincts of basically not getting support and appreciation from people in your community and in your personal life and all that kind of stuff. Because other immigrants and all that stuff who don't necessarily have that problem, they're going to take over. They're going to take over. It's like 10-1. If you got 10 people working as a team, they're pretty much going to beat that one person working alone, right? You can go with the width, or you can go with the depth. But yeah, so that's what Canada's up against right now. I would say that basically there has to be, like, people have to come up with something to create that people want, right? And then people have to make that en masse, right? But in order to do that, you kind of need either like a little bit of government support or your friends. Look at all the startups that took place, like in a garage. Microsoft was founded in a garage. Apple was like founded in a garage. Look at all, like, just between friends working in a garage. So this is and that's how it bloomed or blossomed into what it is now. Of course, it's it's baby steps at first, but at least it's a movement or action or whatever. So if anyone wants to ride along in this journey with me of trying to figure out how to make Canada better, hit me up with a like or some comments, or subscribe, or check out my videos or whatever. See if you agree or disagree or what. But it's a slow start, but at least it's somewhere. I think we're getting there. And yeah, I know a lot of people even click on my videos and you get like haters, eh? They say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about, and you should stop making these types of videos and all that kind of stuff. That's someone that's, sometimes negative comments is good in a way, because it means that you're kind of like struck a nerve, or it means that you got someone emotional to like abreact. And when people start doing that, it's like they voluntarily did it, but in a way it's like an involuntary reaction. I was making some videos recently about Alberta separating, and I got like 200 comments almost, which was pretty crazy for a small channel like mine. But I like the engagement. I like to see people's different opinions. It's surprising. I had some people who were pretending to represent all of Alberta or whatever. Not me, like these individuals that were talking to me. And some people were saying, "Oh, you have to, like it'll never happen. It'll never secede, or it'll never become the 51st state," and all that kind of stuff. They're just pandering out there, like yelling out whatever. But a lot of people, I would say probably 90% of people actually did give thorough comments and really paid attention and all that kind of stuff. And so I do have a lot of respect for Canadians, and Americans who check out my videos, and they do comment, and they, but it's just one of those things where I have to do like 90 videos or 150 videos for it to be like a library and like a snowball effect or whatever. Do we have any comments in here or anything like that? I don't. No. All right, I was just checking there. I'm not really familiar with these live stream buttons. But anyways, yeah, Canada too is also experiencing a big problem right now, like in places like Vancouver and all the rich places actually, but some of the poor places too or whatever. But all along the bottom part of Canada, is major like drug use or whatever. And it's interesting that Trump was saying that he wants to block Canadians from entering the States because of fentanyl, right? But wouldn't it be like the other way around? Like the United States would be bringing in fentanyl to Canada or something like that? Because if you think about it, Canada, like this, United States is here, Canada's up there. We're above the States, right? But most people in Canada live just above the States, just above. you know, all the upper part of Canada, almost nobody lives in, like Nunavut and all that stuff there. Like hardly anyone lives up there. So like 90% of the population lives within a couple 100 kilometers within the U.S. border for sure. And all around that band, we're seeing like crazy drug use in Canada, like in terms of just so many people in Vancouver that's struggling, and a little bit of BC too or whatever. But also on the right side too of Canada, it's starting to come into New Brunswick there. We're getting a lot of people that's losing their lives even in New Brunswick or whatever. We have like big hospitals in New Brunswick for mental health and stuff like that. Commenter Susie says it's a problem in many countries, sadly. Yeah, it's true, Susie. Yes, that's true. But like, I'm just talking about like how we can make Canada better, right? So obviously by not doing that stuff. But what leads to that is once people start, because people right now are struggling, right? They're not getting along with their friends and families. A lot of people start using that stuff and then they go on welfare, right? And then they don't work at all. They're not contributing to society at all. They're just sleeping 3-4, like, I don't know, they're just sleeping 3-4 days in a row, and then they're using, and then they're sleeping 3-4 days in a row. And this is the life of most people. Well, I don't want to say in Canada, but this is the life of a lot of people in Canada, basically. And what I'm trying to say is all these people on welfare cannot pay the retirement pensions, okay? Because there's the older generation that has all the money, right? They got all the money and they're retired. You know, they worked for it, whatever. They had all these opportunities. They got houses and cars and everything else, and they're retired, right? But they collect pensions from these old age pension accounts, right? But really, the younger generation is supposed to be working. They're supposed to be putting money into a group pension. And then when they get older, they're kind of supposed to retire. But that kind of money from the younger people is kind of supposed to go towards the older people. And then when those younger people get old and the old generation passes away, then it's the newer, younger generation that starts kind of paying the old people. The old age security. This is old age federal security here. If not, if that doesn't happen in Canada, then the government has no choice but to rise the deficit, okay, which is already, you know, pretty high in Canada. But since we're entering this like new paradigm where the younger generation might not even get to experience retirement in the same way as the older generation is right now, the younger generation is saying, well, why would I even bother to do that when I can just go on welfare and sit around all day? And that's what's happening in Canada. A lot of younger people, you'd be surprised, that's living in like social assistance and all that kind of stuff, living off the government. And another thing too, to add misery to mayhem, is this younger generation is supposed to compete with immigrants, right? For like their first jobs or whatever, like at Tim Hortons and all that kind of stuff. But the immigrants have incentives. They have everything hooked up from private companies when they sign on the dotted line and all that kind of stuff. They got all these kind of incentives that really the original people, if I can say that, if the original younger generation doesn't really have these kind of incentives. And there's like a big time bottleneck because this younger generation can't exactly take the older generation's high profile jobs, you know, like industrial plumber level 3 or head electrician or whatever, because they're just like, you know, they're just barely out of school or whatever. They're barely out of college and stuff like that. So instead of competing for the entry-level jobs and maybe only making $2,000 a month, you have to bring your lunch to work, you have to drive to work, you have to, you know, whatever the case may be. A lot of them are just saying, well, I'm not going to own a car and I'm just going to go on welfare. And a lot of people are saying, like, how do you word that? They'll say like, you won't own anything and you'll be happy, or whatever it's called. Like you own nothing and you'll be happy. Well, that's kind of like the younger generation right now. A lot of the younger generation doesn't really own anything. And in a way, they're kind of happy about it because they're not really doing anything. But there is some people in the older generation that is helping the younger generation, and that younger generation has a chance to survive a lot better. We have a commenter says the system is backwards. people on welfare have no incentive to get off. No, they don't. They get paid just as much. He says they get paid just as much bi-weekly as working at 40-hour wage. Exactly right, 709. Exactly right. And at the same time, there's a lot of Canadians that feel like demoralized. You know, like when you show up to work, sometimes like people are stressed out or whatever, so they put that stress on you type thing. So it's like bad enough that you have to deal with all this competition, but also you're getting like demoralized and all that kind of stuff. And then on top of that, people are saying, you know, in 2-3 years, you know, these jobs will be replaced by such and such technology or whatever. So then people say, well, why would I even bother to work for 2-3 years if that's the case? You know what I mean? They would maybe save like $5,000 or something, and that'd be it. So I might as well do something else. But this is where the creativity comes in, for the chance to do business or whatever. Have a chance to do some business. But what that business is, like, this is a good time in history to like follow your passions, do what you think you'd like to do what like you're interested in doing. And there is a lot of government incentives or whatever. I will say that I have been seeing like marketing in Canada right now for like self-unemployment type stuff, you know, if you got a knack for it. That's not to say that it's all perfect, because a lot of these programs are old school, like they're not updated very well. They're not very nice websites and stuff like that. So like they're just old school, outdated looking websites, right? But you know, there is some stuff there that I would like to try, but we'll see. I don't know. I'd almost like to have like a moving company or something like that. Does that sound weird, you guys? Like I'd almost like to have like a big truck and like move stuff around. I don't know, but maybe people wouldn't be interested in that. I live in a small town, so there's not really much opportunities for like starting a moving company or something like that. Commenter Susie says, in the UK, you only get unemployment benefit welfare if you can prove you're actively looking for work. Oh, okay. Yeah, sometimes, Susie, they try and force that on certain people in Canada. They do try and do that, but a lot of them just kind of back off or whatever. I think, yeah, it only so works here in Canada, because I know a few guys, they had to go through that process as well or whatever, and they freaked out right away. I know a bunch of old men who were threatened to have their welfare taken away from them, and they had to prove they were looking for work or whatever, and that was like the end of the world for them. It was like the end of the world. Oh my God, there's so many bums out there. I know a lot of Canadians will maybe freak out and say, oh, not all of us are, and all that kind of stuff. Which is true. It's not. There's a lot of good Canadians out there. It's just that it's not like it used to be in the early 2000s. There was only a couple people here and there. It was very rare on welfare. But in Canada now, man, it's like got to be like 50% is on welfare at this point. And this is why I'm starting to make these videos too, is because like I want to sort of like raise awareness of like what's going on about it. It's like, how much longer can Canada keep doing this? Like, where the heck are we getting this money from? And then like we're also like donating money to other countries or whatever for like political clout or whatever. Like we're doing these like, oh, you know, just Canada wires money to certain countries like for influence or whatever, you know, and it's like half the time they're wiring money to like bad organizations to begin with. You know, so it's not good. It's really not good. North America needs to really like tighten up its belt here in Canada. Yeah, it's not foolproof, says Susie, because people claim sickness, but it's a difficult situation. Oh, yeah, well, a lot of people are sick. They can work odd jobs under the table. Yeah, and even make even more, says 709. Exactly. That's another thing too. Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, people on welfare, they they often work under the table, and unemployment too. But yeah, welfare, yeah, it's true. They do that. So really, then they make just as much money as a full-time employee that works minimum wage, except they don't actually do the work full time. So hopefully something's got to give on this. Something's got to give. Yeah, because I don't know, like say for example, if this like let's say last year there was like 1 million immigrants. If next year there's like 3 million, and the next year there's like 6 million after that, it's going to be total culture change, I would say. I watch videos sometimes in Ontario, like the homeless shelters in Ontario parks, in the parks in Ontario. Oof. Yeah, there's this lined up. Same thing in Toronto too. I got a lot of friends of the channel who tell me about what it's like in Toronto. And but that's like the whole fentanyl crisis over there, yeah. And yeah, it's just crazy. A lot of people they're just bored. They're just like sitting around outside bored, which I find crazy. Like yeah, people need like a passion. They need something to do, somewhere to go, some activity or whatever besides just sitting around too. A lot of people just get neurotic from sitting around. And like me, for example, I did so much different stuff in my life. I would get neurotic even if I just like sat around for like half a day. I always do stuff every day. I'm pushing, learning, pushing all the time. I find, if it's not one thing, it's another. So, and yeah, my channel has taken me to, I don't know, I just started documenting my channel, I guess you would say, started taking it more seriously and starting to get more comfortable behind the camera. And yeah, I know I'm not perfect or whatever. I don't have like perfect little scripts or whatever and perfect lighting and everything like a lot of these other people out there do. But, maybe as time goes on, after 50 or 100 live streams there, you get a lot better. And yeah, same thing with my videos. I uploaded a video today, actually, that was like had a lot of wind in it, like wind noise. So I'm ordering a noise reducer for my microphone, little fluffy thing that you put over the mic. Because, yeah, I mean, this is the stuff that you don't realize what you sort of bang into until you start doing it, until you start doing the live stream, until you start learning on your own, basically, or whatever. You bump into all these challenges and all that kind of stuff. So I ordered that, and yeah, my content to make it more better for you guys. I like doing videos outside too. I like making videos outside. A lot of people were asking me to do more stuff outside. It's just the only thing where I live. It's like minus 25 outside. It's so cold outside. It's like minus 25. It's more authentic without all that anyway. Yeah. Okay. Thanks, bro. Yeah. Well, here in New Brunswick, it's like deceptive there. The wind really, like, it's not windy outside when I'm filming, but you can hear when I am filming it, you can the audio picks it up. It's like whoosh, 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 and it's annoying. So I got to get that little thing to clean up the noise or whatever. But I do like filming outside. I have like a little selfie stick that I hold whenever I'm filming myself. But the thing is, it's like aluminum, right? It's aluminum, and as soon as I start recording, my hand's freezing cold. It's cold in Newfoundland, says a commenter in the stream. Yes, sir. Yeah, that's another thing too. Like whenever I make my videos and I press go live and I'm standing there outside, my hands are cold instantly. So whenever I'm recording myself like this, it's friggin' cold, like on my fingers and all that stuff there. So it's just all the stuff you don't really expect. And I know I sound like neurotic or complaining just about everything, but I have to switch hands every 30 seconds or so, or I have to put some sort of rubber around the aluminum or something because it's cold. But then again, in the summer, it won't be cold anymore, so I won't have to worry about that and all that stuff. So, yeah, exactly. 709. That's what Newfoundland is. Yeah. And yeah. So I guess that's it for the live stream. Might as well end it here. Hope you guys liked the video, and we'll catch you guys later.